So now continuing on absolute positioning and say rounded corners, how the heck do we create this, which looks like an image, but it is not an image, it's CSS. So we know we're dealing with some opacity, rounded corners, and positioning. So how do we get that? How do we do that? So what's the first thing that you would generally do if you want to create something like this? So I'll give you a start. So the very first thing would be to sort your three circles out and create them into kind of leaves like that. That's the first thing I'd like you guys to do. Then you build on top of that. So you have those three circles, so create the leaves. And then type in the text, so green recycling or recycle.
Is this online too?
It will be online. But right now, no, I'd like you guys to see if you can do that. So from the previous example, change the color to green and try to make them into a kind of a leaf or leaves. I'll give you the next 10 minutes to see if you can get that done. So as a hint, your border radius on two sides, you're going to specify them, and on the other two sides there's going to be zero border radius on the other two sides. So in this particular case I've got border radius of 0 here and 0 there, and then I've got some number that takes care of this. So in order to get that kind of leaf type of effect, you need to have a border radius. On two sides, you're going to have a border radius. On the other two, it's going to be set to 0 pixels. And then you're going to be faced with another dilemma in terms of rotating. You can rotate objects. So in this particular case, you would have to specify WebKit, Microsoft MS or Internet Explorer, so they're going to be different. So for Mozilla, I'm saying rotate 90 degrees. Then I'm also specifying for the WebKit, I'm rotating also 90 degrees, so they're all going to be the same. So this will allow you for that object to be rotated and appear correct on all the different browsers. So you would need to make sure you position it correctly, you've got the correct parts of that border radius applied, and then you have to rotate it. So if we look at the this recycle example, so everything else remains the same. We've still got absolute positioning. We've got the z-index in place. The only difference is going to be border radius. I've got radius at two corners set to 0 and the other two not so. Then following that, I've got a transform which takes care of our rotation. So we're able to rotate our containers. So it's just these 4 lines that should take care of it. Of course, you may need to play around with your positioning. So once you've rotated it.
You have to include all 3 lines.
Sorry?
You have to include all those 3 lines.
You don't, I mean, for the time being. So if you're testing it on the Mozilla, then you could just put that line. But generally, if you are going to have a site that's going to be launched, yes, you need to cater for all the different browsers. So this solution is available online, so you should be able to view that. So moving on from that, I want you to do that. Add a circle to this, right to the middle. So remember we did the circle, so it's going to be virtually the same code. So where we're going to lead to is this. That's what I'd like you guys to come up with. So you could see how we've kind of broken the problem down into smaller chunks rather than having to tackle all this. So whenever you're working on any type of problem, try to break it down into smaller sections and then build on top of that. It'll be far more easier and less prone to errors. So this is what I'm expecting you guys to do now. Put a circle in the middle. Then following that, you put the other two leaves. And I'll give you the next 15 minutes to do that. And then I'll show you the solution. Okay, so the solution to this particular example is available online. So all I've done is I've just created the different leaves. So I've called it leaf 1, leaf 2, leaf 3. And I've just applied the different rotations for each one of them. So you could see rotate 90 degrees, then leaf 2 I don't rotate that. Then leaf 3 I rotate that to 310 degrees. I don't rotate leaf 4 because it doesn't need rotating, I believe. Because it's just a box. So not all of them need rotating. Yes.
How did you put that middle one all the way up? How did you make it up?
How did I put the circle?
No. The green.
You mean the text?
Yes.
So the text,
Not the text. The one that says green. How do you make it so 180 degrees?
you have to play around with it and see how, depending on what your positioning is, you would still need to rotate it. So you could rotate it 360 degrees. So now if you start rotating it from 10 degrees onwards, you will see it actually rotate. So when you feel that it's where you want it, that's the degrees you need to go for.
So can I see your code for that?
Yes, the code is actually available online. So you do have the code available online. So, you can start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on how you want to. So, you can start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on how you want to layer it. So for leaf 4 is the top one, and I've got that. I don't think I rotated it. So you don't need to rotate all of them. So some of them you generally don't need to rotate them. So I've got this at 210, 240, and that's it.
And you use a wrap?
Did I use a wrapper?
Yeah.
I did. I did use a wrapper. I believe I did, yes. Don't know why I put these outside. They don't need to be outside, but generally that's what you get. So if you have a picture, it's generally going to be horizontal. You could rotate it, and it may give it that extra sort of cleaner look. So depending on, you could have a collage of photos, rotated. And then you could have text. So there's a lot you can do with CSS in terms of layout. So not just, I'm not always expecting the traditional sort of page layout. You have text here, some pictures, and that's it. So be as creative as you possibly can. Yes, CSS does require some extra work. There is a fair bit of work. So what I would suggest is with regards to your final project, get everything all laid out and then, play around with how you could sort of clean it up.